Tell me when you're ready.
Yeah, it's live.
Oh, it's live. Fuck off. No warning, Hector. You're just live. Okay, great. Hi, guys. Spontaneous enter. Hector Castillo, PoppyGirlShakes.com. Today we're going to be talking about the power of politeness and how being polite is super attractive. And then we'll move over to Q&A, as usual. So if you haven't been here before, I talk about dating, sex, relationships, etc. And I try to give you an initial video that'll help you with your day, something that I've been thinking about recently or something that's been asked of me. And then we move to a Q&A session and I answer any questions that you have. So, we'll start with the power of politeness. Oh, fuck. David, do we have water?
Yeah.
Sorry, guys. I need to get some water before we start. Not only are you endangering the camera. Are you not using the 4K? No.
I can't.
Oh, okay. Okay. So we're not using the fancy camera. Hi, guys. Welcome to the party. Okay, so we're talking about politeness. So, I've been examining that politeness is kind of a lost art. I've been trying to really become ethical recently with pickup. It's an interesting phase because I kind of went through this asshole phase. Oh, that's what I forgot to talk about. An asshole phase and then like an animal phase. It's like, what does that mean? Were you a furry? No. I'll get into it in a second. But basically, I had some phases where I wasn't the nicest person in the world. And sometimes I can be a little bit of an asshole. Usually it's out of carelessness and not malicious intent. And I feel like most people being rude these days is not malicious. I think that they're just ignorant about what works in social situations, that being nice can actually be extremely powerful, but we kind of live in an age where people want to pretend they don't give a fuck. And there's this big game that everyone seems to be playing, and I see it all the time. I see it at clubs, I see it on Instagram, I see it with friends in their minor social movements. Like, they just want to prove that they don't give a fuck. This extends all the way to hookup culture too, where it's like, let's be the one who doesn't show any emotion, because if you catch feelings, then you're weak. And what's wrong with that approach is that, yes, you can be too extreme and show way too much emotion and seem like you're chasing that person and then you're being needy and then you're super unattractive. But you can be really nice and polite. So maybe kindness and politeness is both what I want to talk about. But you can be a polite and very kind person. You will open yourself up to manipulation, and we'll talk about that at the end to make sure you don't go too far and you're not being polite to people who don't deserve it. But kindness always pays off, I've noticed. So maybe this is a philosophical talk as well. We could get into, like, if you want to talk more about the philosophy of karma, you can make some comments, but I don't want to make this too much of a philosophy talk. I want to make it a social talk. But kindness, the karma of kindness, is very strong, and it eventually comes back, and I've seen it come back. I've paid very close attention to the long-term effects of being an asshole and being nice, and I've found that universally being nice just wins all the time. Gary Vaynerchuk is a very big inspiration for me. I mean, obviously he didn't invent kindness, but basically what he's doing with his marketing is he's showing the power of being a good person, and how if you don't come, first of all, you don't come out of a place of manipulation, but also, let's say you want to become famous. What he's saying is the best way to be famous is to do your art and show your skill, right? You can become famous for nothing, but you still have to market yourself properly. But you should focus on whatever it is you love to do. If it's women, it's kind of a strange topic for most people, but it's what I love to do, so it's something I made a life out of. If you do what you love, and then at the same time you're doing it because you want to help people, you're going to have such a drastic effect on the people around you. It's going to make you very magnetic. It's going to make you very magnetic socially. So with guys, it'll help, like, guys will just want to spend time with you, and that'll make you high value. But it's also going to make you very sexy. And this goes for women as well. The women who I'm most attracted to are very, they don't have to be classy in the normal sense, like they're always dressing right. Like, I'll date girls who have piercings and tattoos, or girls who are like, you know, business women, or pizza blancas. But I like women the best who are just kind people, and I've noticed that the bad bitches, but the actual bad bitches, like the girls who are not good people, tend to be getting separated in my life because I'm focusing on positivity. And then this just creates a feedback loop of you're hanging out with good people and because you're being polite and you're drawing them into your life, and then you continue to draw those people into your life, both romantically, sexually, and socially. So basically, I would advise that you guys drop the too cool for school act and attempt, maybe just experiment with it. Maybe for like 3 months. Try and be as polite and kind as possible. You're gonna make mistakes and you're gonna get taken advantage of. That's inevitable. But what you wanna do is, you wanna learn game, you wanna learn how people play tricks on you and manipulate you into thinking how they want you to think or doing what you wanna do. But you wanna focus on being as polite and kind as possible. And I think that you're gonna have a longer term success, and then you're gonna see the fruits of it after 3 months. You're gonna be like, okay, I wanna keep doing this, because the more kind and giving that I tend to be getting in general in life, the more is coming to me. And I wanna make this a practical video, not too much of a philosophical video, as I said. Go down to the basics of being polite. So it can be as simple as holding a door for someone. Or it can be when someone's talking, not interrupting them because you want to give your opinion of what's going on. You can interrupt someone, but do it because you want to make the conversation better. Be an active listener. That's being polite. That's just called good manners. Like if someone's talking, not trying to, oh yeah, here's my opinion, and like, unless you really just have to get it out there. You know, some people just have that personality where they're very overbearing and very extroverted. I do that sometimes, and sometimes I'll catch myself, people will talk, and then I'm like, just shut the fuck up, Hector. Let that person express themselves. Let them tell their story, because so few people have a good outlet. Most people are very toxic to each other, and not purposefully. So I think everyone's being not polite because that's how everyone around them seems to be acting, and it makes them feel bad, it makes them feel weak. So they're like, I don't want to feel weak, I want to be powerful. So they play the game that everyone else is playing. But they're playing a toxic game where they're just making their social surrounding worse and worse and worse, because everyone's trying to posture, and we don't want to be polite. I mean, they'll be polite, but they'll be like, instead of talking to that person for 5 seconds or for 10 seconds, they talk to them for 5. But if they had just given that another human being that extra 5 seconds of kindness and politeness, like it can be as simple as the pizza man coming and you giving a tip. Or you don't even have to give a tip, but like treating him like a human being, not just someone who's bringing your food. Just thank you for the pizza, look him in the eye, and be sincere about how you want to treat that person, and say, look, you're a human being and I see you, and that's cool. And I, sometimes I've heard people say stuff like, oh, they're a delivery man, so they're not like, doing much. And I'm like, on one instance, like, let's not be like, happy-go-lucky hippies, but like you can still treat that person like a human being. And when people say that, it's kind of like a person who treats the waiter badly. Like if a person's nice to you but treats the waiter badly, they usually are not that good of people in my experience, because I used to be a waiter and a bartender, and I've seen how people act when they're given power. And I understand that not a lot of people should have too much power, because a lot of people are just not good. And I don't think they're doing it, again, out of malice. I think that they've just been hurt, and so they react with the strategy they were beat with. It's harder to be kind at first, but then it becomes easier because you have such way less bullshit in your life. So being polite and being kind, I think is incredibly important. I give a few examples. It can extend to your closest friends and your lovers. Like, when your friend is pouring his heart out, just fucking like listen, and be polite enough to try and work with him through his emotions. Because some people either just don't understand emotions, or they just hear them and they're like, okay, I don't know how to respond. Care about people, right? Being polite could mean learning how people work and wanting to make the people around you happier and enjoy your presence more by you yourself becoming more charismatic and magnetic. But here's the trick. If you go out with the intention of being nice and kind with people and giving people a good time, that's automatically just going to make you better, because you're coming at it with goodwill. So even if you do fuck up, I had something recently where a friend and I had a misunderstanding. That's all I'll say. And he knew my intentions weren't bad. And so he wasn't as mad as he might have been. He was still upset, but we had an adult conversation, and he knew that I wasn't coming from a bad place. but I just misunderstood something. And so maybe I could have been a bit more empathetic beforehand. But being polite is just wanting to know how you affect the people around you and how to make their day better. It could be a thank you, it could be a smile, holding the door, it could be, I don't know, someone doesn't have money in front of you, so you pay for their meal. You know, you could be as kind as you want, and in my experience, it pays for itself in the long run. You don't quite
have the knowledge.
Like, you only have so much money in your pocket, and then you give it to someone, I don't know, and then you end up getting 3 times that much later. But politeness, being quiet when people are talking, looking at people in the eye when you're talking to them, shaking their hand firmly if it's a guy, because it shows him respect. Or little things like when someone walks up to you and they're gonna introduce themselves, many of you probably don't know, it's very polite to stand up. When someone leaves, it's very polite for everyone to stand up, shake their hand, and give them a hug, lead them to the door. If you're hanging out with friends in the living room and he's gonna leave, don't just be like, oh, I see you, bro. I mean, you guys are friends, so he understands. You're not meaning that in a bad way. But even with my closest friends, I still like to be polite. I mean, they see my very, very raw side. But I also try my best to always remember to treat them well. And so if a friend's leaving, I walk him to the door. Hey man, it's great seeing you. Give him a hug. You know, make people feel good. And if you do it with bad intentions just to make them like you, they're gonna feel that. Usually people can tell. They don't know always what's going on, but they're like, just something weird. There's something weird about that guy. People have like spider senses. It's called empathy, and what you're doing is you're reading micro expressions. So unless you're like a super high IQ sociopath, you can't get away with lying. And someone's gonna feel something's weird. So if you're coming at this from I'm doing it for social gain, I mean, that's one motivation it's okay to have, but don't let that be the forefront motivation. The forefront motivation needs to be, I'm doing it because I want other people to feel better, and I want to have a peace of mind, because there's a peace of mind that comes with being nice. You never feel guilty. Because whenever I'm a dick, I feel guilty like 5 seconds later. I'm like, why did I do that? Sometimes I feel like I had to in order to like make sure they don't think that they can take advantage of me. But when I look back, I'm like, there might have been a better way for me to approach that, to be more polite and courteous. So, don't betray yourself for politeness. If you don't feel like being polite, then don't fucking be polite. It's not an order, it's not a request. I'm just telling you that it has an amazing effect on the people around you, because they notice when you take that little effort to walk them to the door, give them a hug, or shake their hand, or just listen to them. If you're gonna flake on someone, for instance, explain why. You know, don't just not show up. And I just remembered I did that recently. You know. I was meant to go somewhere, and I didn't go. And even David was getting mad at me. I've been a bit lazy coming here for videos, and I haven't been on time. And so this is he's clearing his throat in the back. Yes, tell them, Hector. Show them your shame. But, you know, I mean, I'm just a late dude, so that's something that people just have to accept. But I definitely realized it would be more polite for me if I say I'm going to be here at 2, maybe show up by at least 4, you know, not 6, right? So that's my that's my level of politeness. I'm only going to be 2 hours late instead of 4. And hopefully I become better at being on time, because it's just good for everything. But, yeah, take that effort to just make politeness. I mean, what is politeness? It's not about following tradition, right, and doing things the way they're supposed to. But some things that are tradition for a reason. But you can evaluate. Go through this phase. I forgot to completely talk. Just quick, you know, there was these phases where I was purposefully not being polite as a way to break free, because it's like, oh, being polite, it's it's just social control, and people want to like make me be nice to them just so they can manipulate me. Like, I really had these thoughts, because I was really in like a dark place of like, I feel like everyone, when you start to wake up to the social realities around you, you start to realize that people are influencing you even when they're not trying. It's not like they're malicious, but people are putting their influence on you all the time. It's kind of like gravity. Gravity doesn't have a distance, right? So even another star system is actually, I think this is right, is actually having a gravitational pull on you. But it's very weak. Anyone who's a physics guy can go after that. But you have so many social influences going on around you. This is why I'm very careful with what I watch now. If I don't really want to watch a movie, I'm very careful. Like, everything around you is pulling you. And so when you come to the awareness that there's a lot of social constructs or just people's wills pulling on you, you start to become a little bit antagonistic. So I became a little bit of an asshole on purpose to like break free of the matrix. And then after that, I had this phase where I was like an animal. Not like it comes off so weird, but I was like, I'm gonna eat with my hands, and you know, it came after I was in the jungle in Peru for a month. So I wasn't like, I was bathing in the river and I was eating like barely any food, and I spent the whole day I'd wake up at 6 a.m. with the fucking roosters screaming in my fucking ear when I'm laying in the hammock, and just like, rah! Like, oh fuck my life. And then I'd have to go in the woods and chop down huge fucking trees and carry chunklas fucking 2 kilometers, and I was just like, I started to lose grasp of my humanity. And there's people walking around the villages with just fucking machetes. You're just walking past people and they just got machetes in their hand. You're like, this dude is a master with the machete, and if they wanted to, they could kill me and probably hide my body. And no one would really give a shit because we're in the middle of fucking nowhere. And I was just like, this is insane. And so I turned into like an animal. So when I came back to civilization, I was like, you know, it made me interesting. It definitely, the girls enjoyed it. It made me very wild in bed. And I think they liked the fact that I was getting in touch with my animal. And girls would describe me as like being made out of earth and water and very primal. But a friend of mine, and he'll laugh when he sees this, he met me the first night he met me. And he's like, you walk like an animal. And he's like, it's very, very cool. You know, he's a very insightful guy. And he's like, I like your energy, but you're never going to be able to go to the level of cold power because you have raw animalistic power. He's like, now you need to get cool power, like calm, civilized. Like, instead of, you know, eating your face, I just, you know, pass a law that you should like leave the city. So it's a little effort and I don't have a body on my hands, you know. So cool, civilized power. He's like, you're never going to get that if you're so focused on being an animal. And it was genius. And at first I hated the fact that I was drunk when he said it. And I'm like, this fucking dude doesn't know shit about me. He doesn't know where I come from. And I was so resistant to the advice. And then as the months went on and I started to hang out with him more, I was like, oh, he picked up on something. And I started to become more polite. And now I love being polite. It makes me feel nice and it makes me feel good, and it's very attractive because once you're a high value guy, you're not being polite for the sake of, oh, I need to be polite or everyone's gonna think I'm an asshole, I'm afraid of their opinion. Obviously, I mean, everyone's insecure and is afraid of other people's opinion. So in one way, I really care what people think, and another way, I don't. But I wanted to be polite because I knew I was high value, and they know it's not coming from a place of weakness, it's coming from a place of strength, because if you have so much abundance that you can just, imagine having $1 billion, someone wants 1,000, you're like, you want 10 more? Like, that just makes you so fucking attractive. And when you can be polite about your romantic interest, like, hey honey, you look fucking amazing, you have a great ass, like, your hair is beautiful, but you're just so nice about it, and she's like, oh, this guy's not doing it in a creepy way, like, he's just being honest, but wow, like, girls just like, okay, that's really out there, but it's super attractive. You don't have to be like that, you know, not everyone's gonna be as extreme as I am. But being polite is super, super attractive. So I hope that, do I have anything else? Oh, don't get taken advantage of, yes. Whenever you try something out, I have clients, I'm like, yo, try this. And they go too far. And they're like, what the fuck? And I'm like, okay, do the opposite now. They're like, you told me to do this and now I'm doing this. I'm like, yeah, but it's like Mr. Miyagi, wax on, wax off. It's like, okay, you know, just practice it and over calibrate, and then you're gonna learn how to be better with it. You're going to get taken advantage of, and you're going to be polite to people, nice to people who are going to be rude, and there's going to be a moment where they're going to give an insult, right? And you have a moment, you're just like, all right, should I just, okay, move on. In most cases, that's the best scenario. If someone calls you out directly, you better just, you better get ready to like say something to them. I'm not saying resort to physical violence. Let me clarify, this was a metaphor, it was a joke. Unless they put their hands on you first, then got that. But, you need to talk back when someone's being directly disrespectful. But if someone just makes a snide comment, or you can engage with them in a polite way. Oh, what did you mean by that? is better than what the fuck you say to me. There's two completely different reactions. So be polite if you get taken advantage of, because you will. Just cut them off. I usually give people 2 strikes, maybe 3, if I really feel like their violations weren't malicious. But if someone is around me and I think they're being impolite or disrespectful, you can ask anyone that I know. I have no problem telling you how I fucking feel about you. I will burn a friendship to the ground in 5 seconds if that's what it takes for like there to be clear communication. Because also when you're really high value, you can afford to be polite and get fucked over because you know you can find someone just as cool as them, guy or girl. So sexual partner or male partner. And this goes for women as well. You know, I know I have some female viewers. If someone's around you and they're not treating you how you want to be treated, you tell that person, hey, politely, you're acting this way. I don't appreciate it. Maybe you're not aware. That's why I'm going to tell you to be aware of how your behavior is going. But if you don't fix that shit, you can get the fuck out of here in a nice way. And it's very, 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 very powerful because not a lot of people have that control. And when you have that control, what's happening is they know you have that animal energy underneath it, but you're being cool and civilized. So they're like, ooh, he could pop off if he wanted to, but he has enough control to make it a focused fire rather than a wild animalistic fire that a lot of people get lost in when they become too emotional and they forget we're living in a civilization. Yes, we're animals, but let's be civilized animals. And in my experience, that leads to a happier life and it gets you friends, money, and bitches. So yeah, I recommend it highly. Cool. All right, we'll move to the Q&A section right now. Oh, hi everybody. What up? What up? You should have a big feather as an earring. The problem is there's another guy in the community who's doing that. So I wouldn't want to copy a full feather, but I don't mind wearing. But I'm getting some traditional Mapuche earrings soon. My dad's sending them from Chile. So they'll be here for my birthday. Oh, take off the Girls Chase live stream. Don't take off that part of the text because we want them to see the title. Mm-hmm. Yeah, just get rid of the Girls Chase live stream. I think that would work best. We're trying to figure out marketing. Hey, Felielas, what's up, man? Hey, Chile. They're from Chile, so. For those of you who don't know, my father is from Chile. Okay. Does every PUA have the same mentality when you have a target in sight? You all have similar techniques, or is it completely different and genuine techniques from PO to PO? Oh my God, dude. If anyone is sharing techniques in like... The most I've seen people share techniques is they'll... Some of the guys in the community, they'll set up certain conversations. They're called stacks. So this is kind of interesting. So I only do... The only thing that I've ever done that's a little bit scripted is how I explain my job. Because for a long time, that was a bit difficult for me to properly... I know that what I do is good and it helps people's lives and changes people's lives a lot more than everyone realizes. But it's kind of hard to be like, hey, I teach guys how to fuck girls. It's like, there can be a lot of misinterpretations because it's not just that. That's a big part of it, but it's not just that. But I have taken the time to think about how I should probably tell someone what I do. That's the only, but it's not even scripted because I adjust it to the person at hand, but I just have a kind of guideline like, I want to focus on talking about this area of like what I do because there's 1,000 different ways to explain what I do, but I want to do it in a way that they understand that it's coming from a good place and not a manipulative place. So there's these things called stacks, and what some PUAs, they will share stacks with each other. This is the only thing that I could see being scripted because you can't script a conversation. That's what a lot of people misunderstand, I think, in the early days of pickup. And even sometimes today, they're like, oh, you're just like scripting what you should say to her. I'm like, there's only so many things you can script. Now, the original guys, like with Mystery Method, they would have like lines ready for the most basic questions and they just throw them out. This obviously comes off as disingenuous, and it's not even good game. So here's the thing: if you're doing that, if you're just spitting out the same line over and over, there's only one way that turns out to be good, is when you're a night game cold approacher and you're just always zoop, 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 like that. And so what happens is you're just getting girls in isolated bubbles of seduction. And so it's just you and her, right? And it's just boom, 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 boom. And you can say the most dumb shit, but because you're attractive and you got her in your world, I mean, she's fully like happy to like join it. But when you ever deal with social circle situations where there's other people who are within her circles that are aware of what you're doing, they're not in the spell, right? It's not fucking magic. It's just being charismatic, being a good salesman. They're not in the spell, so they can see exactly what they're doing, and they're like, you're just spitting out lines to trigger certain emotions. I had a few girls tell me like, I like what you do and I like being with you, but I can kind of think sometimes you're pushing my emotional buttons. And that's because what I particularly do is I'm just telling you straight up in really direct language how I feel about you. And I just poke the emotions directly. I don't play games. I'm just like, look, I think you're very sexy, and I like that you do this, and you have a cool personality, blah, blah, blah. I would love to be with you. And I just go straight for the heart. I'm just like, this is what I want. And sometimes that can come off like, okay, it might be scripted. But it's not. I'm just picking what I find attractive about that person, expressing my sexual interest, and then I leave it there. And if she wants to take it, she can take it, and if not, not. So that's the only thing that PUAs will share is a stack. And so it's like a general conversational guideline, because you can't predict every single detail that the person's going to say. You can't predict a conversation. You can predict the emotions that they're going to go for, but picking out their exact wordage is difficult. So that means you have to adjust your stack to every single person, lead the story in. It's like this one routine where they would ask the girls, okay, there's a bunch of berries in a field or something, and, you know, are there a few or are there a lot? And then he's like, okay, now there's a wall, and is it low or is it high? And then he's like, if you were to get into that field of berries, would you eat a few or eat a lot? And if the person said there's a lot of berries, then they're very greedy. You know, they really like sex. They want a lot of sex. If they are little, then they don't have a huge libido. If the wall is low, then they're like, that means that you have a low wall to sex, like you're very open with your sexuality. If you have a high wall, that means you're very resistant to sex, and you need more emotions for that. And then if you were actually to eat a lot or a little, that shows like how you really are with sex. Like if you wanted a lot of cherries, and then if you got in there and ate them, you would eat a lot, then that means you just love dick. and then they feed this like story to the girl, and it rises the emotions of like who they are as a person. And then it also gives the pickup artist, this is super technical, and some of you are probably like, what the fuck? And it gives the guy a blueprint of, okay, she said she has a high wall, because here's the thing, we weren't talking about sex. She didn't know I was talking about sex. What it is like a litmus test for her sexual appetite through metaphor, but she didn't know it was a sexual survey, so she's being honest. And so she says she has a high wall, then it's like, okay, now I know that she needs a lot more time and a lot more emotions. But if she has a low wall, that means she's adventurous. She just likes to do stuff and have fun. So if I just want to go sleep with her and she's down because she just loves adventure, you know, then I don't have to wait so long. So it's not even just, it's not like you're doing anything. All you're doing is getting a better sense of who this girl is. You're introducing topics that are sexy and get her thinking about sex. Like if you've ever hung out with a girl on a date, and then like she just randomly says, we're not having sex tonight, just so you know, but says it in that kind of tone, it's like, okay, so there's like a 90% chance we're having sex, because you're thinking about sex. And I always tell them, like, I didn't even bring up sex, you're the one bringing it up. And usually I'm the one who introduces sex, so I'll talk about sex, and they're like, you know, they move on to a different topic, and then all of a sudden they're like, yeah, we're not sleeping together. I'm just like, okay, so now you're the one thinking about it. So you get the ideas in their head. It's kind of like Inception, but Inception isn't possible, really, because they have to have wanted it in the first place. You cannot you can tell someone what's good and how it aligns with their goals and their desires in life, and then that's like marketing. But you can't plant the idea originally in their head. They have to have desired it at some point. It's just a question of a good seducer can grow that seed very carefully and then let it blossom. And it's a good thing because she's having a great time with him. Because if he's ethical, he's going to treat her very well. Some of you are like, "Oh, what are these stacks?" Trust me, these things called stacks are like, most guys don't even use them. It's like the really old school guys or the super technical guys. Most people just don't have they don't give enough of a fuck to like sit there and really memorize this stuff. A reason why there's a lot of these old techniques though is because a lot of the guys who are getting started in the pickup community, they're on the autism spectrum and they have Asperger's. And so when you don't have normal empathetic whatever things going on. And so you don't read emotions and feel social situations properly. So you have to come up with techniques that you can just bring out in any context. But the problem with that is, and it's why they had the term naturals, it's like guys who are just good with girls, but they're not doing pickup. They're doing pickup. Every guy's doing pickup. And that's why I like, some girls like, what you do is blah, blah, blah. I'm like, every guy does what I do. I just do it better because I took the time to learn what makes someone feel good. And can I give that to them? It's not that simple, but that's a lot of it. So every PUA is different, basically, to answer your question. Everyone thinks about it differently. The only thing that's universal is we all want to fuck. I always tell girls, I love that. They're like, yeah, this guy's just my friend. I'm like, okay. Whatever you want to think, honey. Girls all love dick. Okay, did you have to deal with trauma releasing at some point? If yes, ho. How did you do that? Meditation? Trauma. Man, I've dealt with so much trauma. I've thought about making like some articles on some of the darker stuff that I had to deal with like when you're a kid. But people are real touchy about darker subjects. Yeah, I've had to deal with some trauma, definitely. Lots of rejection stuff. Abandonment issues. Yeah, not so bad. It wasn't terrible. Some bad stuff, but I didn't have like the worst life. But it wasn't the best. And everyone's the same, Everyone has some sort of trauma. But I dealt with my trauma by being honest with myself. I've always thought about sometimes having a video where I just tell all of my secrets. And they're not even bad, they're just embarrassing, and that's a way to just you let out into the world, And I do that a lot. I don't have a problem admitting. All my closest friends know all my darkest stuff. I tell them all. I'm not super shy about it, and I think that was one of my strengths when it came to overcoming. Usually, your sexuality reflects most of your problems. If you're having problems getting it up, for instance, sometimes it happens to everyone. Just so you guys know, everyone pretends it's never a problem, but literally every guy that I know has had problems with it at some point. It's always going to point out. Sex is a very good way to point out where you're. This is why it's such a beautiful journey. Because what you're doing is you're selling yourself, and you have to highlight your qualities, and people are going to call you out on it. Like in soccer, it's get the ball into the fucking net. I mean, there's obviously elements to it, but it's kind of like externalized. It's your skill with football. But now what you're doing with seduction and socializing, you're like, do you accept me as a person? And that hurts because your shit is going to get revealed very, very quickly. But the great part about that is it's going to stick out so much that you're going to have to work on it. And so I have guys who are just really struggling with girls, but it's because of something completely not how they're approaching her specifically, but his traumas are just fucking showing up. But here's the thing with a lot of guys with this advice is they focus now only on your traumas. I think the best way to focus on your trauma is just to move forward regardless of the trauma. Like when I had that moment a month and a half ago, it's like, it was an enlightenment with girls. I'm not done completely. I still have trauma. I still have insecurities. But it was a huge release because I was so honest with myself about what was going on in my heart, in my head, in my dick, and how not everything was aligning. And I cried for like 30 fucking minutes. I have a video of it. I still saved it on my phone because I was like, I need to remember this moment for the rest of my life. And I'm just like bawling fucking. And I'm just like filming myself. It was so weird. And I was just like, I need to document this and be honest with myself about my traumas. And just, like, I'm not saying be like me and broadcast your shit to the world, because that's painful. It's very quick. It's very quick to get over your shit because people are they're gonna see in your videos. They're gonna see they're gonna be like, something's off. So deal with your traumas by expressing them and just telling people. Meditation is great. I said I would never get a psychiatrist, and then I ended up sleeping with a girl who's a psychiatrist, and she'll play her fucking games with me over text sometimes, and I'm like, yeah, and then like at the end of the conversation, I'm like, God damn it, bitch, you were psychoanalyzing me. And I'm usually the one who's psychoanalyzing people, because I like the old school Buddhism, like just sit in your fucking room, or go in the jungle and just meditate and quit being a fucking little baby, So the idea of going to a psychiatrist was like really, I got this. But talking to her has helped. It's not a normal, like I'm sitting down and like, all right, tell me about your, whatever complex. But it is nice every once in a while for her to just be like, and she knows she's smart because she's a lover, and so we've connected on a very cool level. We've connected intellectually and sexually. So you can when you've bonded with someone, this is why you need to be careful with who you fuck. And this is coming from me, guy. But you should be careful. I know you should be careful with who you fuck because I've made that mistake before where you fuck someone, but guys don't click very well, and then it ends up like creating this thing. But when you connect with someone really well, sexually and emotionally and intellectually, it's this cool bond. You don't become attached to it, because that's the other problem, is you become attached to it. But what you do is you create a bridge that you can very clearly see someone else, and then you can help them with their life a lot. So what I try to do with my lovers and my girls, I'm like, girl, tell me all your deepest, darkest fucking secrets. I'll tell you them too. And I'll usually I'll be like, here's my deepest, darkest secret. That's one way to deal with trauma. Work on your trauma with other people. That's a fascinating way to do it. I loved it. I've told girlfriends the most embarrassing shit about me. Like, oh wow, okay. you just said that. I'm like, yep. So, and then they admit something to me, and they're like, I literally cannot tell anybody. I haven't told that to my like closest roommate, or my closest friend, or my roommate, or my family, or anything. And when you release it, these girls just fly. Like good sex and like releasing your trauma is just like you're floating, right? So I'll spend time with a girl, and I want to help her with her trauma because I like making people around me better, and plus I love my women like double, so I just want to like make them super happy, and I'll deal with their trauma. Like, it's okay. I'm patient with it. I'm like, do you want to talk about this? I feel like there's a lot of pain here. Can I help? And then they let it go, and they're like, oh my God, I feel like this weight has been lifted. And then we fuck, and it's amazing because you're just floating, and everything is just amazing. Basically, it's just amazing. So admit your traumas and do it. You can do it with your partners. You need to be careful with telling girls your traumas. Here's the thing. You have to... Oh, that's a really dark story. No. Okay, let me just... Yeah, okay. I'm becoming very conscious of how I come off. Because I like to use extreme examples to illustrate things, but sometimes they can shock people because it's too much reality. Basically, just if you're gonna admit a trauma to a girl, don't do it from a place of like, hey, there's this thing I used to have trouble with, but I'm gonna get over it. So show emotions, but still be masculine. You could even cry and just be like, yep. I know some shit happened when I was a kid, or some shit happened when I was a teenager, or some shit happened yesterday, and just be like, it's fucking rough. and then you're just crying, but you're not like, oh my God, do that by yourself. You know, women are very empathetic and they're great. But if you break down crying about some time when, you know, you got taken advantage of, it's going to make you look like you're still losing. Whereas it should be like, look, I took this L at some point in my life and it could have been yesterday. I feel like shit, but I'm going to get through it. This is why it's great to deal with your traumas, because if you've dealt with it, you can talk about it and say, look, this is something that happened to me. It was really embarrassing, or it was really sad, or really fucked up, but this is what happened to me. But if you can do it from a place of strength, now you're double attracted. Now it's super attractive, because like, wow, this dude went through that. And it was big for them, you know, so it meant a lot for them and it was very painful for them, but they got through it. And now they're even better. That's the hottest thing in the world, a guy who falls and then comes up double. Because people are kind of wary about people who have too much goodness in their life. I have girls ask me that too. I had a girl ask me recently that it was actually the psychiatrist. And she said, are you ever sad? Because I think because I'm actually normally very happy, to be completely honest. But I have dealt with very extreme bouts of depression and suicidal thoughts. I will be very upfront with you. And everyone who's close to me knows. And they saw it. So she was a little bit skeptical though, because she's like, do you ever get upset? Because you're always the one helping someone, or you know, you're always being happy and you're always being inspirational. I'm like, oh yeah, no, definitely I get depressed. You know, and I was very open with her about that. And what that does is it also just shows your character. It's very attractive to be vulnerable. Hell, going back to the original video earlier, like being vulnerable can even be a polite thing, because what you're doing is you're saying, I care for you, so I'm willing to share my weakness with you in order to let you have the release of sharing your weakness in a non-judgmental space where we can either just empathize with each other, or I can even help you solve your problem. That's very attractive, because you're so strong, you're willing to get punched in the face. Like you're willing to die for, you know, for your life and your ambitions and your dreams, because you're not afraid to take the pain. Yeah. So we were talking about trauma. So yeah, that's how I dealt with trauma. Do I get tired of seduction? I don't know, man. I fucking love girls. It's actually harder for me to stop than to start. This is why I talk about approach anxiety, where it's never really. I mean, I've obviously had approach anxiety. I'm not a fucking machine, but I'm close because I love the shit out of girls. Like, I tell people all the time, I think about two things: women and philosophy. And cats, who are making messes in the other room. Okay, I need to check YouTube. I've been doing Instagram. I lost my virginity last week. I'm happy but disappointed. Okay, so let me get this straight. You were bitching. Because we talked like 2 years ago, didn't we? I think we did a coaching call, if I'm correct. And if I'm remembering... If I remember correctly, the girls were liking you, but your texting was wrong. But you lost your virginity. You're happy but disappointed. So, see, guys? Here's a lesson. Even when you get what you want, it's not going to solve your fucking problem. Let me promise you, getting a lot of pussy is great. It is great to have a bunch of fucking hot girls who want to suck your fucking dick and texting you, like all of that. It's cool. I'm not gonna fucking lie to you, you know, like being someone, and then take it to extreme, like being Dan Bilzerian. That's probably really cool. A lot of people are like, you're so shallow and fake, and I'm like, shut the fuck up. Any man would trade his life for Dan Bilzerian's life right now. It's great, but it's not gonna solve everything. So this dude, who, he was complaining for a while. I remember on our chats, he seemed really depressed. And he's like, all right, I lost my virginity. And he's like, I'm happy but I'm disappointed. So, good for you, bro. But this is a lesson. Your virginity wasn't that big of a deal because you made it this big thing. Then you finally lost it. And now you're like, well, I thought that was the big thing. Then it's going to be, let me get 5 girls, and it's going to be, let me get 10 girls, and then 15. And I mean, you got to play the game. There's got to be a carrot to go next to. That's why that makes our life exciting, and it gives us a drama to follow. But just remember and learn this lesson, that it's not going to be ultimately satisfying. So just take it for what it is. But it's probably, in my opinion, besides surviving and being able to provide for your family or yourself, if you're alone, your sexual and social success is number 2 or 3, and then second is following your passion, I think. Yeah. How can you become immune to social influence? Be a monk and go off into the woods and never talk to anyone again. You're always going to be influenced by people. The question is, are you choosing who you're getting influenced by because it's a good thing to be influenced by? Being influenced isn't a bad thing. Like with seduction, I'm influencing girls to have sex with me, but it's a good thing because I'm going to treat them well, and then I'm going to fuck them as good as I can, and I'm going to try and make them better people than when I found them. I'm influencing them. I'm saying, hey, you know, here's a pretty and attractive option, and I know how to make it look pretty, but it's a good thing. So you don't want to get rid of social influence completely unless you want to attain like nirvana, so go off in the woods and be by yourself. Oh, you couldn't perform. Oh. A girl asked me for some free food at my job and I said she'd have to give me something, and we went into the family bathroom. Wow, okay. I was excited and happy, but I couldn't stay hard. Dude, you tried to lose your virginity in a bathroom? That's very ambitious. I mean, I had trouble just getting it up with my first girlfriend just like in our room. Like, not only did you have to get hard in a public situation, it was your first time. Fuck, dude. That's a lot of pressure. No wonder you couldn't fucking get it out. But yeah, if you're watching too much porn, then that could be it. And that's probably why you're fucking unhappy. It's because you're depleting your testosterone and you're overloading yourself with empty dopamine. If you're gonna jerk off to like just you, like your imagination or something. You don't have any prior experiences to use from your spank bank. You haven't opened up the spank bank yet. But yeah, jerk off to just your mind. Don't watch porn. That's my advice. Okay. How much time do we have left? 10 minutes. Okay. How do you handle objection with girls on the fence and persuade them? I'm very, I listen to what they're saying. So when she gives you an objection, she's usually telling you either in direct language or indirect language what it is she wants from you. So I was on this date with, here's a fantastic example. I was on this date with this amazing girl. And we were really feeling each other. And at some point I suggested, we just got done going through some of my higher philosophies. Like I said, if I'm not talking about sex, I'm talking about philosophy. And we went through it very intellectually, and she was very enthusiastically interested in what I had to say, and I could tell she was actually enthusiastic about it. She wasn't just asking, and she asked smart questions. Like, this bitch is smart. You know, she's pretty as hell. She's got a fat ass, and she's smart. Like, Poppy sold. I'm fucking happy, you know? And I was just, it was like she seduced me, you know? She knows that she's charming. She's a charming girl. She knew what she was doing. She's smart. And I was like, yo, I want to take you home. And she's like, just a little bit of patience. You know, trust me, it'll be worth it. And I'm like, okay, because normally sometimes you're like, no, I gotta be dominant. Like, come on, let's go. Sometimes you need that, but sometimes it's not the moment. Sometimes you just chill out. You know, there's a time to be passionate and persistent, and there's a time to chill out. And I knew, I was like, okay. And then I realized, I haven't asked her barely anything. It's been all about me. I was like, of course, you know. So then I asked about her, and I get to know her. And I run my charm in my game because, you know, she did hers on me. It's my turn to do my little charm on her. And then, you know, after we reached like a really nice point in the conversation, I was like, She's like, let's go. Yeah. It was the right time to pull. And I deal with very direct objections. You know, I'm just like, hey, wanna go home with me? And, you know, potentially fuck. Now, the exact details of how I persuade, I find out what they want by usually just asking them, like, okay, are you into this? Are you sexually attracted to me? Are you just on the fence because I'm a fuckboy? Usually the biggest thing that comes up is me doing what I do. And they're like, look, I don't want to just be another girl. And I'll be like, if you were just another girl, trust me, I'd tell you. I'd just be like, look, I just want to fuck tonight. But I'm like, you know what? You're actually pretty cool. I want to see you again. And I know that's her concern. And then her concern after that is like, okay, that's cool that you like me more than just sex, because now I want you emotionally and sexually. But are you telling the truth? And then what you have to do is she's going to look in your face and she's going to tell from your micro expressions and your body language and your voice tonality, are you being real? And then I market myself in the right way to show her and persuade her that it's being real. And then it's truthful, so it has even more power. I'm like, yep, this is how I feel. You down? They're like, okay. We go, boom, have a good time. And then I treat her exactly how I said I was going to treat her. And then they're like, oh, he was telling the truth. Made a good decision. Because girls take a lot of risks. There's a reason why she has objections, dude. Like, this is very important, her pussy. You have to understand how important it is. And girls, I think they understand it's very important who they let fuck them. But, like, you really need to think evolutionarily why it's important. Like, wombs are very rare. They come around once a month. Until she's, what does menopause hit? 35, 40, 45? Depends on the girl. I think it's like, can't remember the earliest ages. Maybe it's like 34. I'm not sure. But, yeah, her clock is ticking, you know? And she has to deal with the societal stuff as well, reputation, right? Most of the people who slut shame is other women. It's usually women trying to kick other women out of the competition. So they're like, oh, she's a whore. And so then the guys are like, well, I don't want her because, you know, she's going to cheat on me, or, you know, I'm going to have to raise someone else's kid, or, you know, blah, blah, blah. So girls deal with a lot of pressure on who they're willing to be sexual with. So recognize that, okay, she has a barrier to sex. Let's figure out what her concerns are. And if I can alleviate her of those concerns, then I'm going to do that in a nice, charismatic way. That's where game comes in. Now, if you lie just to get the pussy, you're a piece of shit. And she's going to find out. And you're the one who usually turns these girls into, like, getting all angry and turning into bitches because they get fucked over. I understand why they do it. So, basically, not to get too carried away, objections. Objections are a good thing. If you're getting objections, it means that she's interested. If she wasn't interested, trust me, she's going to say, no, thanks, no, sorry, I'm not, you know, bye. You're going to see them, they'll shut off. But if you're getting objections, you know, and she seems open to being influenced. If she seems pretty fucking hardcore, like, nope, sorry, I'm going, okay, done. In order to convince someone, they have to already want it. So what you do is you take that desire and you grow it by leading them along a path of logic that makes sense. And the best kind of marketing is honest marketing. Because you're not going to stumble because you're trying to think about what to say. You got to really believe it is what you're saying. But to say it in a charismatic way, sometimes you got to give a speech. I've gotten shit for it from girls. They're like, you just giving me another speech, huh? I'm like, look, girl, I gotta do my thing. You know, you play your role as the woman, I'll play my role as the man. And as the man, I'm hunting you, so I'm gonna be like trying. So I'm gonna look you in the eye and be like, girl, listen here. And talk to her for a solid 5-10 minutes, be like, this is how I feel. You know, I feel this way about you. I think you feel this way about me. You know, we had that moment together. That was really cool. You know, this, that, you know, I like you. I dig you. And, you know, girls appreciate a guy who's good at it. You know, sometimes they'll give you shit for it, like, oh, you're too smooth. But, like, look, if you know that you should make contact with a girl when you're trying to persuade her, and she seems comfortable with you, right? She's, like, all snuggled up on you, And she's like, oh, I want to go home with you, but I don't know, blah, blah. Like, come here, baby. You know, put your arm around her, rub her leg, maybe give her a kiss. Be persuasive. Be seductive about it. She wants to be, as long as she seems comfortable and she seems to be enjoying herself, she's open to persuasion, and she seems like she might want to be persuaded. Because girls love sex. This is one of the biggest things. It's like the best lesson I could give you. Girls fucking love dick. They love dick more than you could possibly fucking imagine. They love dick. They probably love dick more than we love pussy, to be completely honest. If I had to really, really say it, girls love sex way more than men. Like, who's the one screaming? The girl. She's having a grand old. Sometimes I'm jealous of these girls. They're just like, pop, pop, pop. And I'm like, oh yeah, I feel good. This is nice. She got a great ass. And she's over there, woo, woo, woo. And I'm like, damn, that's good. I want to have what she's having. Holy shit. Damn, girl. You're having fun. And that gives me pleasure because I can empathize with her. But, yeah, girls love sex. So it's not like you have to convince them. You have to persuade them, I guess. Maybe is a distinction that might mean something to some of you. But, yeah, girls love dick, bro. So, you know, if you're getting objections, that's just them saying, hey, here's my issue with this right now. Maybe you can solve it for me. And if you can, welcome to the pussy. Cool. Awesome. Is that an hour? 5 more minutes? Damn, that was such a poetic ending. I don't know what to do with my hands. Damn, only 11 today? Pretty low. Oh, it's fucking Easter. Shit. That's why. Oh, we should have did like a Jesus special, you know? Like a just do a philosophical talk, you know? I could tell you about the resurrection. I studied that shit. I've read like 4 books just on like the resurrection. So, yep. All right, guys. You know, you go be heavenly today. Thank you, man. I appreciate it. I appreciate the compliment. You guys go have a good day. You know, if you're of the Christian leaning, I wish you a very happy Easter. I think it's for the Catholics only, though. Your guys' next weekend is for the Orthodox?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So I'm in Eastern Europe, so Orthodox is next weekend is Easter. Yeah. Hope you enjoy that. If you're just out to hunt eggs, enjoy the eggs, enjoy the chocolate, the bunny rabbits. Let's see, I gotta do my plugs. So, if you want an overall guide when it comes to picking up girls from start to finish, just like approaching them, getting their number, texting them out on a date, getting on a date, what to talk about on a date, how to get them home, how to have sex, and then how to turn her into a girlfriend. We have a product called One Date, and it helps you go through the whole enchilada. It's in the description below. Check that out. Also, I have a college book. If you want to learn more about group dynamics and what we call social circle game, where it's about, you know, you get introduced to the girl at a party, how do you get her? Versus a random girl you meet at the bar, there's different rules. If you want to learn how to do that, I have a book. It's called King of College. It teaches you the principles. So it doesn't matter if you're in college or not. If you're in college, it's great. And you can just skip the college-based stuff if you're not in college. But it teaches you the principles of reputation and gossip, how to handle gossip, you know, and I have very real stories of people starting crazy-ass rumors about me, how to build your reputation in a good way, how to make sure you avoid bad things, how to deal with bad things. Yeah, it helps you with all that, and then it helps you pick up girls in pretty much every situation you can think of. So check that out. It's in the description below. Also, if you want personal coaching, so if you want to look at me like this, but I'm completely focused on you, and I'm helping you specifically solve your problem, because it's what a lot of guys have trouble with. They get advice and then they apply it in the wrong way to their situation. It might be nice to just have someone know exactly what you need to do, because there's so much information out there, right? We have over 100 videos, and there's hundreds of other videos on YouTube from other channels, and we have literally thousands of articles on our website, girlschase.com. But what do you need right now? And what I can do is tell you, here's what you need right now, and it saves you all that time. And then I give you more direct explanations that you can understand the material better than just reading it, because we try to communicate as clearly as possible, but when you apply it specifically, it's a very, very different affair. So personal coaching can help with that. I do Skype, but I also do in-person coaching. And so you can sign up for an hour in a link below, and then there's also you can go to the podcast that I made, and you can sign up for a free 10-minute consultation where we'll talk on the phone and see if, you know, a coaching student relationship would be good, and it would help you get better with girls and with your socializing. And yeah. Okay, cool. Like the video, subscribe, ring the bell, and I'll see you motherfuckers very soon.